www.offthecorner.net. I'm Rollo, and you're watching the Fact Project. In fact, of course, is an acronym that stands for Fundamental African-Centered Thought. The goal here on the Fact Project is to convey some thoughts and some information to members of our community. Here on the DJ Tiger channel, shout out to DJ Tiger. We have joining us today a special guest, African-centered educator, author, activist, classroom teacher, and my compliment, the beautiful Het Heru Aunt Bara. Thank you for joining the Fact Project today.
Greetings, Rollo. Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, so
Are you able to hear me?
Oh, I can hear you fine. Sure, absolutely. And so the topic of today's conversation is the 12 dangers of social media. Before we get into the 12 dangers of social media, when I bring someone new on for the first time, I like to introduce them to my audience so that they're familiar with who you are and what your background is. So what is your educational background?
Greetings, everyone. I hope everyone is having a beautiful day. I'm Het Heru Aunt Bara, and my background, I have a bachelor's degree in elementary education and theater. I also have some background in dancing as well. I have an associate's degree in African studies, and I have a certification, a yoga certification through Jastar Hotep for African yoga, for Kemet yoga. I'm also an author. I'm also a published author as well.
Okay. So we're letting people know that you're a heavy hitter. You're not just a fake expert on YouTube. You're actually coming in with some credentials. So now you mentioned African-centered yoga and so forth and so on, and African studies. What was your introduction into Black consciousness? How did you first find your way to that?
Well, when I was about 23 years old, I wanted to do something that it was going to connect me or put me on that map of Africa, trace it back to my roots. Because when people look at me, people always ask, instead of asking, "Hi, how you doing? How is your name? I mean, what's your name?" or anything like that, the first thing they ask me is like, "Where are you from? Where are your parents from? Where are you both of your parents from?" So I wanted to trace back my roots because I knew before any DNA test, which I took already, that I am an African being. So I wanted to do something that aligned me with African thinking. And the first book that I picked up was The Kemetic Diet by Muazzam Ashby. And that book, I was about 23 years old, changed my entire life because it started by changing my diet from leaving animals, becoming a vegan, vegetarian, plant based, practicing yoga, meditation, and things that were aligned with African way, philosophy and African culture and African way of being. So that was my introduction at about 23 years old to Africa and our culture.
Okay. Okay. So that's good. Thank you for sharing that. We talk here on this program a lot about the great Omar Wally Malcolm X. We talk about a lot about the great Dr. Francis Cress Welsing. The great Omar Wally Malcolm X once said, "The 1/10 is our enemy." He said, "Many of us don't think so, but time will tell." I think history tells us that the 1/10 is our enemy. The great Dr. Francis Cress Welsing, in her book, The ISIS Papers, said that racism is war on black people. I also understand that if we don't understand our situation in the system of structural racism within the context of warfare, then we will never be able to transform the condition of the group. I'm sharing my screen here. This is a quote from the great Dr. Francis Cress Welsing. It says, "We do not see the war being waged against us because we don't want to and because we are afraid. We are engaging in behavior specifically designed to block out any awareness of the war, which is our true reality." What are your thoughts about that quote from the great Dr. Francis Cress Welsing?
Well, I first I would like to take a few seconds to send her infinite love because as we know in science, energy never terminates. The body, this vehicle and vessel that we have, is temporary. So the body may be temporary. However, energy in science never terminates. It just takes one form to the other. So being said that, the great, she was great and she is great and will continue to be great. And we send her infinite love from our hearts for as long as her heart remains beautiful as it was when she was here with us physically on this planet. And Dr. Frances Cress Wilson is brilliant. Unfortunately, I did not have the opportunity to meet her. I learned about her later on when she no longer physically was here with us, but I really appreciate that all of the wisdom that she left behind because it's going to keep us on the right path. And she's a psychologist and a psychiatrist, and I think is the words that she shared with us helps us to keep us in our right culture state of mind, in a right African state of mind. It keeps us on the right path, and because there are too many distractions out there and we need to know who we are. So I really appreciate her wisdom and her area of expertise because psychology teaches you how to be a better person so you could be a better person for yourself, your loved ones, your family, and society in general.
Okay, now she talked about this concept of war, and today's subject we want to talk about the impact or the dangers of social media. From your perspective, is social media part of the war that Dr. Welsing spoke of?
And from my perspective, I think that social media is definitely part of the psychological warfare because the way social media is set up in a way that engages the mind almost as if it's some type of drug, meaning almost as if is actually an addiction. It is set up in a way that once you are logged in or actively engaged in any social media platforms, you are almost like on automatic pilot. You just scrolling, scrolling, scrolling. And what are you doing? Unconsciously or consciously, depending on the individual, you are seeking for a neurotransmitter, a chemical called dopamine. Dopamine is responsible for achievement and reward. So every time that you scroll from one scroll to the other, your system, in terms of particularly your brain is looking for that dopamine achievement and release in your body. So when you look and you scroll, you're sending a synthetic and artificial message to your brain that says you have achieved, and you feel good about yourself, and then you continue to scroll and scroll and scroll endlessly, looking for this, unconsciously looking for this dopamine release, this feeling of achievement and reward and feeling good. The problem with dopamine is that we're getting on the internet is artificial and synthetic. It is not real. It is tricking your brain to think that you're actually achieving something by simply scrolling. And that could really possibly be a long term problem in our society collectively.
And what makes that a problem? The infinite scroll. Apart from it just being a colossal waste of time, what are the other pitfalls?
Well, what makes it a possible problem as a collective is that now we are relying on this artificial, unnatural, and synthetic ways to satisfy our dopamine levels, to satisfy, I achieved something, to satisfy, um, I got something done. So instead of you going to winning a game of chess and feeling, wow, I really put in 8 hours every single day for the past year, and I feel like I was ready, and I was like Muhammad Ali, the greatest of all time. I achieved and I won this chess game. So I released natural dopamine because why? I was in an environment present with other people, and I played a game of chess. A whole bunch of people came to see me. I was playing chess, and after I won, I had that sense of natural dopamine achievement. Why? Because I sat there with the other person who I'm supposed to play chess against. There were other people present, social gathering. I was physically looking and move. I was physically moving pieces on the board, and I had that deep thought about what move I needed to do and all of that. And at the end, I won, I achieved, I released that chemical, that neurotransmitter in the brain that tells me I achieved something. So what happens now? You see, I train for 8 hours for 6 months or a year. This is all hypothetically speaking. I don't play chess. I love chess, but I don't even know how to set up the board. So I trained for a whole year, 8 hours every single day of my life for this game that means so much to me. People came out to see the game and everything, and I actually won. I achieved. That's the same level of dopamine that you achieve from just going like this on social media, scrolling up. So the problem with that is that perhaps later on in life, as we are beginning to see it now, like how much effort are you going to put in into yourself, into other people, into relationships? How much effort are you going to put in into your jobs? How much efforts are you putting into male and female relationship? How much effort are you going to put in into any other areas of your life, such very essential one is parenting, being a mother, being a father, or productive member of society. Everything else possibly could become boring or too hard to achieve compared to having to do this. You actually have to put in the work. Remember, just like the chess um, comparison, me having to study for that game of chess, a life game of chess for 6 months to a year for 8 hours every single day of my life, and me actually winning the game of chess and having a natural dopamine release versus is the same release that I get because the brain is some not able to distinguish the difference I'm getting a dopamine release from just scrolling like this on social media.
Okay, so a couple weeks ago here on the Fact Project, we did the history of conscious rap part 1 and 2. And I would recommend, if anyone's watching this, you want to go back on the DJ Tiger channel and watch those videos because they were really good. Either way, I quoted Melly Mel from the B Street Breakdown, the final verse of that song. He said, "Don't be a slave to no computer." And I think that's basically what you're referencing right there.
Yeah, most
Recently,
definitely.
I'm sorry, go ahead. You
I
want to
said
add on to
most
that?
definitely. Well,
Okay,
I
because you
just
see
wanted
now,
to agree. Yeah.
yeah, you see now, anywhere you go, people could be walking with their head down, staring into a phone. They're crossing the street. There's buses coming, cars coming, and they're so oblivious to what's going on around them because they're too busy staring into the phone. So, I mean, that's dangerous for any number of reasons. But I think it was last week, the Prime Minister of Australia came out and announced that he is planning to institute a ban on social media for children that are under 16 years old. Listen to this really quick.
I want to see kids off their devices and onto the footy fields and the swimming pools and the tennis courts. We want them to have real experiences with real people because we know that social media is causing social harm. We're committed to introducing legislation before the end of this year for age verification to make sure that we get young people away from this social harm. I want to see kids off their devices.
Okay, so this is the Prime Minister of Australia saying that social media is causing social harm. He's saying the children are not as active as they should be. They should be on the soccer field and on the tennis court and outside playing games and so forth. What are your thoughts about what the Prime Minister of Australia said?
I definitely agree. I think it's common sense. The brain of a child is not fully developed. According to neuroscience, the brain is not fully developed until the age of 25 years old. So the age of children, the children's brain rather, excuse me, is vulnerable and it's not fully developed. So I don't think a child's brain is made for social media.
Okay, so
So I agree. I apologize. I completely agree with him. So that's something that should be implemented everywhere, worldwide, because to me, that is common sense. Everything that involves the brain causes changes to your brain cells.
okay,
And
so
another, the song that Sam did, Watch Your Consumptions. I love it because everything you see, everything you hear, everything you consume in terms of food, drinks, and the things you hear on the radio or whatever you're listening to, and what you watch on TV, all those images go to your subconscious mind and you may not even be aware and it's there while you're making your everyday thoughts and decisions in your everyday life that affects you personally and all your loved ones, your families and friends and community. So it is very important for us to watch our consumption of everything that we are around or exposing ourselves and our loved ones, especially the children. Watch their consumption.
okay,
I
so
love that song.
man, we're gonna try to play that at the end if we can, if we have time. But I'm showing here an image on the screen. I don't know if people can see that, but it says this is the brain of a preschooler who likely spends an average of 2 hours a day playing on screens. The blue in this image shows massive underdevelopment and disorganization of white matter in the same areas needed to support learning in school. So they're saying the use of social media and screen times can inhibit your ability to learn. Or what else can you tell us about that?
Well, as I mentioned, the child is brain is not fully developed until they're 25 years old. And I think as parents, we should really do a better job to, if you even decide to get your child a phone or a digital device, to make sure that you restrict the screen time, that you have parental control, but also know that it's not a requirement. You don't have to get your child a cell phone or a tablet. You have to listen to your intuition and your heart and do your research. If you don't feel that this is a good option for your child to have a tablet, even with parental control, a lot of things could bypass parental control, other than the children themselves accidentally or intentionally bypassing parental control, depending on the child, and also the Internet of Things. Well, there's CIA, ex-CIA agent that she said, do you feel comfortable as a parent dropping your child in New York City in Times Square, in the middle of New York City, Times Square, and leaving them there by themselves? That is the same or similar concept
Mm.
that, in comparison to giving the internet, a cell phone, a digital device to a child. It is a similar concept of handing them, putting a digital device in their hand. It's like dropping them off by themselves in the
Mm.
middle of Times Square and saying, good luck.
Now, we talk a lot here about intergroup violence among Black people. And statistically, Black people are the one demographic of people that spend the most time watching television. They're also the one demographic that spends the most time on social media. So Black people are basically overusing social media. And we saw the Prime Minister of Australia talk about the social harm that it causes. And social media now, especially in the grade school and the public school, is causing a lot of fights, a lot of fist fights, and a lot of violence. Is that being caused by the social media as well?
A lot of things are possibly being caused by social media because of the way that the brain receives that information. The brain receives that information as this artificial and synthetic thing called social media, artificial intelligence, right? Is the brain receives it in a way as if it's happening really to you in real time, like this is what you are physically experiencing. The brain is not at that moment, in that exact moment, it is not able to distinguish in that exact moment if this is a real life situation that you are experiencing, or if you are just on a screen, in front of a screen scrolling, whether you are typing or posting or receiving, consuming the post of social media and things of that nature. So the brain is at that moment is not able to distinguish it. So if you see some negative content on social media, it's gonna have a unconscious and effect on the person, whether it's a child, which should not be on social media. In my opinion, children should not be on social media at all. A child is anyone under 21 years old. Live your life before you decide if you want to consume social media. I don't think social media is safe for children. I don't even think social media is safe for adults. I deleted my Facebook and Instagram account. The only thing I have is YouTube, and I make sure that I am present and aware of the content that the algorithm is feeding me. Is this something that I want to consume and this is something that I was looking for in the past, or is this something that the algorithm is feeding me for specific intentions? Is this something that's going to benefit me? Is this something that is going to be good for my brain? Every time you consume something, whether it's social media, being around certain people, ask yourself, is this good for my brain? Is this good for my child's brain? Should my child be consuming this? Should I be consuming this as a living being? Because possibly cells are being disrupted from the radiation, from the type of energy that comes from our cellular device and all of these devices. They're unfortunately not made in a way they are human friendly. Human friendly meaning of no one of any age, not children, not adults. So, in terms of watching our consumption, like Samsung said. Shout out to Sam. I really love that song. I hope that we get a chance to play it. It is very important for us to protect ourselves from these kind of technologies. Does it have a positive and a negative? We are using it right now, as some you may say. Yes, but it's still emitting that frequency. It does not have to be made this way. As we already know, like the people that created all of these, the phone from back in the days, the cellular phone now, the mechanism for the computer to work, if you look it up, all of these were invented by Black people. We have the potential to do greatness. Before enslavement, building pyramids and castles in Ethiopia, to great inventors like invented those things that I just mentioned in terms of the cellular technology that we have, the traffic light, Gary Morgan, everything, most of the things that you see in your house and your everyday living were invented after enslavement by African people, Black people. So watching our consumptions is very important because it affects our brain. So everything every day, think about, how is this going to be a good thing for my brain or bad things for my brain? Also, all of these things can be made in a positive way. We could take social media and make it into something that is actually not addictive. Is that we are not going to be addicted to, that is not set up in a way that is going to keep us like zombies, um, seeking fake artificial dopamine release, and something that does not have a biased algorithm, something that is not fed a specific agenda, not monetizing people's time and energy, selling them things and all of these things, and something that is truly fair, that really is about the people, about what the people think and feel, and something that is not going to disrupt ourselves just because we're holding it in our hand and we are in front of it. How about creating something that is actually truly fair and not biased, and then it's actually healthy and beneficial, that instead of disrupting ourselves in our body, that we can actually charge ourselves, and something that we could use for the positive things of the internet, instead of dealing with all the terrible side effects of the internet that we may be aware of or not.
Okay, you
Sorry,
talk.
Robert. What was your original question?
No,
I
no, no. You good. You good.
apologize.
You talked about the inventions that were created by people of African heritage post slavery. We're not counting the ones that they created during slavery, but they were unable to get the patents because they were somebody else's property, quote unquote. You said that when you're watching something on the internet or social media, your brain doesn't know the difference. That's crazy. So, in other words, if you're watching a fist fight on social media, your brain thinks you're actually seeing a fist fight up close. You're saying,
Yes, because your brain, your neurotransmitters are tricked to think that this is what you are experiencing in real life. So every day we are, as humans, are adapting to our environment. So constant change is happening to our brains in regards to our neurotransmitters. Now, those neurotransmitters release things like dopamine. They're responsible for reward and achievement. Also, they release serotonin, which helps you to calm your move, which I find not to be so much happening in social media, where you actually, if you're honest to yourself, you don't feel the serotonin, which helps you to just calm down and relax and really feel like that sense of peace, like when you are doing some kind of yoga, qigong, martial arts, or any achievement of any exercise that is going to help you to release those endorphins. I don't see social media releasing those chemicals of serotonin and oxytocin. Oxytocin is when you bond with someone and you trust them, like a mother and child bonding, trusting. While serotonin is a chemical, a neurotransmitter, natural chemicals, right? Because we are made of a natural chemicals. The same thing the stars are made of, natural chemicals, we are made of natural chemicals. Everything that is out there in the universe, all the atoms that are out in the universe are present in you. All the atoms that are out in the universe are present within you. So you are a creator yourself. Okay, you help to create your reality that you live in, your waking world. So all of these things on social media with this fake dopamine affects relationships that you have.
Mm.
Guys, are you gonna really give it 100% when you meet the woman of your dreams? Ladies, are you gonna give it 100% when you meet the men of your dreams? Are you really gonna go out there and give it 300% or 100% when you're trying to achieve your own business or any project that you're trying to achieve? Because your brain is being rewired to seek this dopamine of instant gratification. So when you have too much instant gratification, you possibly become lazy, where you no longer naturally take the effort to put in all of the time that you would have before this synthetic artificial dopamine to actually put in towards your own business, towards a new job, a new project, a sports, a relationship, contributing to society, because the brain will automatically see it as this is too hard. Why do I have to do all this work? All I have to do is log into social media and go like this. And I automatically think that I'm feeling good about myself because the brain is telling me I achieved something, and we are wired to want to achieve so that we could be good members to society, so that we could contribute to society. So we want to feel proud, like we achieved something, and we want to feel good. So why put in all that work to do all these various projects and get all of these things done that naturally as human we have been doing for thousands and thousands of years, when you could just log into the device and go like this?
Right.
Dopamine release, synthetic.
Okay, so, and I think this kind of ties into what you're saying. This is from a short piece on the internet. It's called How Television Works. And this is not unlike what you're saying. It's actually very similar. I want you to watch this, and I want your opinion on this.
The longer a person watches television, the more easily the brain slips into alpha level, a slow, steady brainwave pattern in which the mind is in its most receptive mode. Images and suggestions are implanted directly into the mind without viewer participation. An effective hypnosis is induced, and the viewer surrenders to the unending television image stream.
All right, I'm going to stop there. What is your opinion on this idea that television can put your brain in alpha mode? Can the cell phone and the tablet and the digital devices do the same thing?
It is my theory. I have to do more research that it could possibly put your brain on alpha mode, but I don't want to comment on that because I have not done the particular research in that area to find out what's happening chemically in your brain when you are viewing television or when you are on social media. Is your brain being put on alpha mode? To me, in my opinion, I would think so, because now you're open to receiving those things, but I would have to do further research to and specifically to find out chemically what's happening in the brain other than looking for fake dopamine. To find out specifically if your brain is being put on alpha mode, because it seems like we're becoming like zombies, like and just like scrolling, meaning there's no rational thinking over here. Every single scroll, endless amount of
Right.
scrolling. It sounds like I'm saying squirrel. Endless amount of scrolling.
And when you're scrolling, also, you lose track of time. And we quoted the great Dr. Frances Cress Welsing at the beginning of the hour. She said, no orientation to time is a marker for mental illness. So you could be on the internet scrolling and you think it's an hour later and it's 3 hours later. You lost track of time. That's the beginning of the markers of mental illness. You have Thulsa Doom in the chat is saying that what you're saying is very important. He said, man, or he or she said, man, this is so revealing. This has affected me. She is so on point. So your message is resonating and it's reaching people. We talked about the impact that social media is having on the brain. And Twitter is like a sentence or two. TikTok is, these short things. You don't have to do any deep reading. The idea that people are not reading deeply, is that one of the major dangers of using social media?
Well, the way the brain receives information from social media is not the same as picking up a book. When you pick up a physical book, a printed book, the brain receives it differently than when you are scrolling. As you show the images of that preschooler, it shows you the areas of the brain that are active when you are on social media versus the areas of the brain that are active when you're reading a physical book. When you're reading a physical book, you're bonding. So you're releasing, if you're reading a good book, you're bonding with the book. You're releasing good chemistry, meaning endorphins and neurotransmitters, those hormones that are oxytocin that helps you to bond and cuddle with the book. And you're also releasing serotonin that helps you to calm down, and dopamine. But those dopamine are real because you are experiencing something real, physical in terms of you bonding with the book and all of those things.
Yeah, Thul Sadum in the chat said something interesting. It said, it is particularly concerning that the creators of social media don't even allow their own children to use social media. What are your thoughts on that? Like, why would you think the creators of it wouldn't want their own children to use it?
Because possibly, and when I say possibly, I don't mean that I don't know, possibly they know what the purpose is. They know what was intended for social media, what it was intended to be used for. And it does not have appear to be a positive thing, something that is going to help us for our own best interest or the best interest of anyone we love. It is not safe for our mental health. It's like saying, like, if you see that a dog, and this is a funny analogy, if you see a dog is in the corner by himself, you first, you know the dog personally, very happy dog, always playful, energetic, people person. But out of nowhere, you introduce something new to the dog, and the dog has behaved, the behavior has severely changed. Now the dog is in the corner by themselves. They refuse to do nothing else but to be in this corner. You can't get their attention. Nothing is, all the toys and all the attention, affection, all the things that you two used to love to do is no longer happening because all that dog wants to do is be in the corner searching for a bone. The bone is not there, but he's searching and searching and searching for a bone. You would say something is wrong with this dog. This dog is crazy. So why are we the internet searching and searching for a bone, meaning a dopamine, fake dopamine release? That's, isn't that sort of like a mental illness, searching and searching and searching for, you know?
This elusive thing that you're searching for that's not there, and
Right.
you're constantly looking for this elusive thing that you're not finding, and so you're in this relentless search for whatever the thing is. And when you get on social media, you don't even know what you're looking for. You're just looking for some kind of, as you said, dopamine rush or endorphin rush. But you said also that using social media and spending too much time on the screens can facilitate a person having no empathy for other people. What can you tell us about that?
Right, because we are wired to have in-person interactions. We are wired to show empathy for each other because it makes us a better person. Somebody, not everybody is born with a working frontal lobe. The frontal lobe is in your brain and is responsible for the feelings of emotion and empathy. So people there like psychopaths um, don't have a working frontal lobe. According to psychologists, psychopaths do not have a working frontal lobes. These are people that naturally do not have the ability or capability biochemically in their brain to feel love and empathy, because that part of your brain, right, the amygdala, is not working properly. They came into the world with that missing. So no matter how much you try to appeal to the system of white supremacy, can you consider that according to psychology, they do not have a working amygdala and other parts of the brains that are essential for them to naturally be able to feel empathy for others and care for others and relate to others and feel love for others and see things from other people's point of view? They biochemically don't have that. So you're trying to appeal to a people that do not have parts of their brain that are working in a way that humans are naturally supposed to have, to feel that sense of empathy, to feel that sense of love and connection, so that we could stop what we're doing, acknowledge what somebody else is going through, and help them, so we could help each other, so we could evolve and be better people. We went from being highly evolved as African people, and we know that because we could look at the monuments and the writing. This is not hearsay, this is not he said, she said. You can actually see the writing, the monuments, and all of that in ancient Africa, in Kemet on the temple walls, that left the writing, the everyday culture, the book of coming forth by day and night, Ma'at, the laws of the universe, truth, orders, justice, reciprocity, natural law, right? Everything, the foundation of the entire universe that you could prove in science. Ma'at is there. It is the glue of the universe. It's there to keep harmony. It allows things to exist. Without it, things become chaos, cannot exist as the way we have it now. So, empathy and the brain, not everybody has it. That's another thing I was thinking back in the days. Maybe after all this time, maybe the system of white supremacy has learned from thousands of years of being the way they are. It has been more than hundreds of years. It's before enslavement. I'm taking it back to the time of the Greek and the Romans. We had issues with them before enslavement because of the way their brains are wired. They do things differently. And biochemically, meaning we are carbon, according to science, bioscientists, we are carbon-based body. What does that mean? Not only the carbon in our skin, our eyes, right? Our brains, our hearts, our inner organs. We are carbon inside and out. This is a carbon-based body. The more you have it, the more complete and a potential you have. You could use that carbon for good or you could use that carbon for bad. The concept of duality.
Okay, so yeah, so that's an excellent point. I'm just reading the chat here. Thulsa Doom said, my last point, I remember taking a trip to a resort in East Africa overseas, and I was more concerned with taking pictures and posting them at the actual moment. He said, and as soon as I got back, I logged onto my social media and saw other vacations and felt like mine wasn't good enough. Constantly chasing that social media high. She is so right. So this Thulsa Doom is talking about people who go on vacation. There's a few things there that post what they're doing on vacation in that moment on social media. We've heard stories of people's homes being broken into and people having break-ins because they told the world that they were on vacation. And not only that, Thulsa Doom said after their vacation, they came back and saw people posting about their vacation and compared the vacation they went on to the one that people claimed they had went on social media and felt that the vacation wasn't good enough. So it's almost like you kind of have this, like it's a blow to your self-esteem because people are pretending that they're living a better life than you are. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that's an interesting concept of everyday life that I think goes back to that dopamine. I think probably people are tired of hearing stop saying dopamine, la 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 la. We want to make it seem like we are internet celebrities, like saying Hey, we are living our best life. This is what we're doing. Like me, I'm interesting, I'm pretty, I'm handsome, I'm intelligent, I'm creative, I have a good job, I have a good car, I have lots of money, I could travel here, I could go there, I'm helping people, I'm a philanthropist, I'm living my best life, I'm on top of the mountain. Check me out. What
Right,
you doing?
right. So
In
those,
reality, is all seeking attention to validate yourself, but you doing it in the most synthetic and insignificant way. Because at the end of the day, when you press a button and the internet is finally deleted because nothing lasts forever, then how do you see your life without the internet? And how will others view you without the internet? We had the internet before, and the internet is not forever. When that button is pressed, then how at the end of the day you have to sit with yourself. Who am I? Where do I come from? What is my purpose? What I contribute to society? Those years that you have that you spend on the internet is synthetic and artificial, hence artificial intelligence, you would never get back.
yeah, those Doom
So
said, go ahead.
live your life in your waking life in the real moment,
And
doing things that you love to do.
that's the point that they were making. Doom said, people are posting pictures instead of enjoying the actual moment that they're in. Like, they're so thinking of social media that they're not enjoying the moment or enjoying the vacation. They're so busy taking pictures to try to show to the world that they're on vacation having a good time. Okay, so in that context, I'm glad Doom said that, and I'm glad your response is what it was, because this is again from a short piece on the internet called How Television Works, and this is talking about the trick that television plays on your brain. And TikTok and all the social media where people are posting these short videos is doing the same thing. Watch this.
Television imagery is jammed together in a steady stream of information, fracturing your attention while condensing and accelerating time. These events would not happen in ordinary life. They are technical alterations only possible within the moving image media. Living in the rapid world of television imagery, ordinary life is dull by comparison, and often far too slow.
I'm gonna stop there. They talk about the fact that I see you laughing. Television condenses time and extends time, and the steady stream of video and what that's doing to your brain. What are your thoughts on that idea?
I was laughing because of the cartoons from back in the days. But however, is an issue and a concern because what we consuming in social media is altering our brains. It's letting us know this is what this profession should look like. This is what your relationship should look like. This is what being a parent should look like. This is what your society should look like. This is what you should be doing. It doesn't matter what you think or how you feel. It is not based on rationality and critical thinking. Social media is not based on rationality and critical thinking. It is not based on the individual, but rather as a collective of a specific agenda, possibly of a certain small group of people that's in their best interest. Is a distraction from possibly keeping you away from your purpose, because you're not revealing, a lot of us are not revealing our authentic selves on social medias and all of these filters and all of these fake accounts, and is special is for not just young mind, not just for children, which children shouldn't be on social media a lot at all unless they are with their parent watching a specific lesson or documentary, and the parent or a competent adult is there present to monitor the content that is being consumed and received, and make sure that it's child friendly, and make sure that they explain the lesson, and make sure they're there. Because sometimes I tell my children, I said, don't watch commercial, skip it unless it's funny. They're like, oh, I can't skip it. Go to the next video. I can't go to the next video. Turn it off. Unplug the TV. Leave the room. You have a choice and an option. Okay? Sometimes you cannot control what the algorithm or the agenda or they're trying to give you. The internet is what the people that don't like you are trying to give you. If fulfill not the people like the people that you know in your everyday life or the people you're trying to befriend, but rather the system of white supremacy has an agenda that protects their agenda, protects their thoughts and value or lack of thoughts, empathy, love, and value. And you're receiving that, the images that they want you to see, the sounds that they want you to hear. You are constantly receiving that. And they have people that are psychologists, psychiatrists, and scientists, and everything that they could put all of that information, all of their agenda, so it could be received by you. And even sometimes bypass, most of the time is bypassing critical thinking, rationality, and being conscious. It goes straight to your subconscious mind. Your subconscious mind is responsible for about 90% of what you receive. When you come in as a child and you're getting all of that information downloaded to you of what you need to be a human this lifetime, so your subconscious mind is receiving all of that, um, helping you up to the age of 7 years old, where you are like a well-rounded child equipped to be a human in this world and ready to learn to fulfill your purpose in life. And then later on in life, subconscious mind does not stop there. Everything that you see, everything that you hear, whether you are aware and present, is there. And that makes you helps you to make a decision in life based, and it creates a lot of stereotypes, a lot of negative images, things that are not even true, like how we treat our women and how we treat our men and how we treat our children should not be told by our oppressor. We are a people of beautiful history, and our history is there for us to go back and Sankofa that, go back and get it. Why should we allow our oppressors, our enslavers, our colonizers to tell us what beautiful should look like, what intelligence should look like, how to be a parent, how to be a husband, how to be a wife, how to have a business, what kind of business to have, what to do in your everyday life? Everything. They have planned to tell you everything of what to do and what not to do, whether you realize it or not.
Okay, so we understand that there are detriments and dangers to social media. We like here on the Fact Project to talk about solutions. What are some of the solutions to social media use?
Okay, delete your account, run. No, actually, social media could be seen as a possible drug when it comes to the brain. The brain, like I mentioned, cannot distinguish at that particular moment what's real and what's not real. So it thinks you're experiencing the social media content in real time. It thinks you are experiencing that, you're consuming that. So some of the solution I would say is that if you wish to continue to have social media, maybe you may want to set an alarm where it goes off and you actually obey your own suggestions. Make sure that when it goes off, so if you set it off to be there for 30 minutes or an hour after the alarm goes off, honor yourself and go ahead, turn the alarm off and turn the social media off, turn your phone off, put it away. Put your phone in another room. Don't sleep with your phone. Don't have your phone in the same room as you. Don't allow anything that disturb your sleep. Do not allow your phone or the social medias or notification to disturb you when you're sleeping. Before you go to bed, put your phone off or put it on airplane mode. Put it in another room. If you can help it, do not search on social media before going to bed, because all of that goes to your subconscious mind. So you're voluntarily programming yourself where their agenda, not yours, what's in their best interest, not yours. So you could take a break from social media. We have no internet days on certain days of the week where we minimize the usage of the internet or try to eliminate it for that one day or the majority of the day for that particular day. We spend more time. We sit at the family tables when we have dinner. We have family movie nights where we can actually talk and gather, watch a movie together, prepare snacks, ask your children how your day was, did you eat? How are you feeling? What are you thinking? What you learned today? The same thing for your spouse or your friends, whoever you love. Spend more time out in nature. Spend more times doing the simple things in nature, because nature is you and you are nature. So try to take breaks from social media and from the internet altogether. Put the phone down, set an alarm, turn it off, have days where you don't check your social media. And you could also delete the social media if you want. That would be great. But if you don't want to delete the social media, you could go ahead and set an alarm. But after a certain time, you get off, you turn the phone off, you put the phone away, and all of that. So those are some of the things. Spend more time in nature, because nature, you are electromagnetic and nature is alive and you're part of nature. Nature is part of you. When you touch a tree, when you breathe in that oxygen that tree was kind enough to give us, the tree takes the carbon dioxide. That means the toxicity and all that stuff that you're breathing in the atmosphere. The trees takes that and gives us back oxygen. Without trees, there are a lot more trees here on this planet than people. Without trees, we would not be able to have a human experience. Let's show more love and gratitude, spend more time out there in nature. So at the beginning, with any in terms of addiction, because this is a possible addiction. So we have to see it as such. So for me to tell you, go ahead and quit, delete all your social media account, I was joking. It is almost like a drug addiction. You have to take steps. You cannot leave a bad habit without first having implement a good habit, which is set out the timer. Have certain days or certain times when you don't go on social media at all, or you minimize your social media content. Have a certain day or night, 2 hours before going to bed, cut off time for social media, cut a time of consuming any of those images that are going to go into your mind, and the next day and thereafter are going to be there. um, in terms of notification, turn off your notification. Every time you pick up the phone, you have a notification that releases that sense and chemistry in you that's seeking that dopamine. Oh, I gotta check my phone. Turn off all notifications for social media. You decide when you're ready to log into social media, not the notifications. Turn off all of your notifications for social media if you like, because you can still have your social media and enjoy your social media in your own way, in your own time, when you decide that you want to log into social media, not with somebody randomly, probably somebody that you may or may not know, decides to post all of these things and all of this notification at the same time. Turn off your notifications. That's another way.
Okay, now you are a published author and you've published over 20 books at this point. What about the idea that reading physical books can help you to overcome a social media addiction?
Well, physical books helps in terms of sleep as well. They said, according to research, that it even decreases 20% of death, meaning death is decreased by 20% by just reading a paperback, a hardcover book, a physical book, not an ebook, not internet scroll, not any print online, a physical book. So reading a physical book releases good chemistry. It releasing that oxytocin because you're bonding with the book. It releases the serotonin that helps to calm your mood and that anxiety. It releases that natural dopamine because when you're turning the pages, it's creating an index in your brain. Your brain is naturally trying to help you navigate the world. So when you're reading a book, your brain is naturally creating this index, this map. Okay, I'm reading this book. This is what the cover looked like. This is what the book is about because I read it. I read the back of the book, and I selected the book because I'm interested in the book and it's enjoyable to me. Oh, I hope it's enjoyable to me. And when you turn the pages, that's kind of creating that index in your brain. It's saying, okay, this is page 3. What's going to follow is page 4, page 5, page 6. And at some point, the book is going to end. It's not like infinite scrolls when you are scrolling like this, or you are clicking to the next page, the brain does not decipher that the same way, meaning it does not activate the same parts of the brain when you are reading a book online, an ebook, or social media content, or any reading on the internet at all. The brain does not see it the same. It does not create that natural oxytocin bonding with a physical book. It does not create the sense of being truly, genuinely calm and at peace with yourself. So books have the ability to stimulate the release of those good chemicals in the brain.
Okay, so just to recap, we're talking about the dangers of social media. So one of the dangers includes not reading deeply, which is obviously not good for your brain. You said it causes people to have no empathy. It causes real life to become boring in comparison. It causes people to lack patience. You ever seen somebody, they misplace their phone and they're having a meltdown because they can't find their phone? It could potentially put your brain in alpha mode, which makes you more or more open to suggestion. It could also cause a lack of activation in some parts of your brain, which is what you talked about. It can be a detriment to your self-esteem. And I thought this was interesting. It can be harder to teach children how to read only because they're not reading, deeply. There's any number of other things. The zombification, where people are just walking around scrolling. The addiction doesn't help us to become revolutionaries and engage in acts of resistance against the system. And now you're an author and you've published books, and you would promote reading physical books over using the internet. What are some of the titles of some of your books? Can you share that with us?
Sure. Some of the titles are I Am Beautiful. I Am Beautiful is a book that I wrote because representation is important. So, like, it's saying that seeing people of your ethnic group has a positive effect and makes you feel more included in society, and it reinforces your views and your values. So representation in literature, children's books, or any books that we read are essential because it validates us and our ethnic group. It shows us that we are competent, intelligent, and beautiful, and we could contribute to society in a very positive way. So when you don't see yourself, because according to internet data of 2022, it says that 80% of the authors today, according to the data, are white people, European people. 80.3% of the people that are writing books as of 2022 are white people. And 80%, 83% rather, are of books that are white, for white children, portraying white people rather, are books, white books, European books with white characters, animals, or things. That's the children's literature that is 83% of the books, according to the research in 2022. So it is very important for us to be represented in books, children's books, adult books. We need to see ourselves doing amazing things. No, we don't need to see somebody else writing our books and writing our stories, or we don't need to see authors that are actually Black authors that are including everybody else in our stories, because a lot of people don't include us. They don't put us on pedestals. Why do we constantly have to go and continue to put our enslavers and oppressors on pedestals? And yes, they always say, well, slavery happened so long ago. Well, if that happened to you or your family or anyone you love, like the Holocaust, will you say that that happened a long time ago and it doesn't matter? There's no statute of limitation for murder, because that is murder. What we went through as African people is the worst possible thing. And no, that cannot be fixed. But the best thing that they could do, instead of continuing to do bad things to African people, is actually begin to show more love and empathy, which some of them, like psychopaths, don't have that. But there's other people that have white privileges. They could use those white privilege to help African people, like meaning like get a better loan, help them to in society in something, in some way or some form.
Help.
White people benefit from the system of white supremacy. The white fragility is real. The benefit that they have is real, whether they accept it, whether they realize it, whether they agree with it or not. It is real. And they can actually use it for positive. They can actually, if they wanted to, when was the last time you see somebody genuinely standing up for an African person, using their white privilege to say, look, I don't want to be treated this way. I wouldn't want anyone that I love to be treated this way. We need to stop this. And we need to really, if we think that we are a people of we all created equal, we seriously need to start implementing that and start asking questions and start being a more loving, peaceful, and empathetic people towards each other. And stand up for injustice. Use your white privileges to stand up for injustice so that you can actually be a part of the solution instead of part of the problem, and start relieving some of that burden that your ancestors did, because epigenetic is real, meaning that information is passed on to African people from our ancestors according to science, uh, bioscience, according to our biology. Epigenetics is the term used in science that actually we receive and is passed on. All of that, positive and negative, all of that trauma that our ancestors went through and hardship, through enslavement, the worst possible things that should never been done to anybody. Anybody, no one should have gone through enslavement, no matter who you are. So that is passed on to us through epigenetics. And the white European people get that enslaved masters passed on through to their people today through epigenetics. So the people, the white people that here today receive courtesy of epigenetic, all the slave masters download subconsciously. And we receive all of our ancestors suffering, good and bad, brilliance and suffering like nobody's business through epigenetics.
Yeah, Thulsa Doom in the chat said, this lady is really smart. There is an actual science to the addiction of social media. I have learned a lot today. Thanks. So we want to thank Thulsa Doom for not only watching, but chiming in on the chat and getting so much from today's program. This is a book about the library, Nia's trip to the library. And this is about the importance of going to the library. I would go a step further and say we should have our own libraries, but that's another conversation. Any other titles that you might want to mention today? I know there's Kaya and the Apple Tree, which is a book about perseverance, right? And being able to have faith in yourself and stay the course. What other books can you share with us today
Well,
from your?
in particular, Kaya and the Apple Tree, I really love that book, and obviously all the other books because I wrote them, so I'm biased. But that one actually has counting in Kiswahili and Medunecha, which are two African languages. So it's about perseverance, as Raul mentioned, but it's also about the importance of African language, and it particularly uses Medunecha, the ancient Egyptian language, ancient African language of ancient Kemet, Medunecha, and it uses the Kiswahili, which is one of the most widely spoken African language today. Um, I also have Ashley's Dream, which is my first book. A story about how she went to sleep and had a dream that she spoke to Heru M. Aketi, who somebody called the Sphinx, which is not our language. So that was my first book. Also have Dear Mama that I wrote for my mommy. I wrote it for my mom for her birthday. So I have numerous of books. The intent of my books and purpose of my books is to celebrate us, to motivate us, to inspire us, to remind us of who we are. So they're very simply written, but they're written for the heart with lots of love to celebrate you and to remind you how special you truly are, because society doesn't tend to celebrate us.
No, it doesn't. Okay, so you gave so much information, and I know you have a lot more to share, but we're actually out of time. We're actually over time right now. Is there a website you can give for people that might want to follow up and buy some of those books?
I'm sure, theblackbookshop.com. and you could kindly post it if possible. If
Yes.
anyone wants to contact me, you could head over to the blackbookshop.com.
Blackbookshop.com. I'm putting that in the chat now, and it is officially in the chat. Theblackbookshop.com. That website again is theblackbookshop.com. Get on there and buy those books. And my book is also available for sale on that website. And we have also, once again, it's Kwanzaa time. That's coming up soon. That's a good seller right there. Either way, we're about to close out. I want to thank you for all the information you shared. The chat definitely wants to thank you because you had people that were very impressed with the information that you conveyed. So we want to thank you for that. But before we play Consumption, you mentioned something about a birthday today. What can you tell us about that?
Oh yes, it's shout out to my little brother. It's his birthday today. Happy birthday, Peter. Yay, party responsibly. Yeah.
Hold on. How to hear? So shout out to Peter. I want to say happy birthday to him. I'm trying to get it together here on my end.
I appreciate it.
I didn't do this right. Okay, here we go. I didn't do it right the first time. Here we go.
How are you gonna sing the song to?
Oh, it's not. Hold on a second. Yeah, it's not working.
Technical difficulties.
I am having a technical challenge. Yes. Shout out to brother Peter.
Shout out to Peter. Happy birthday.
For real. Okay, so we're gonna end it now, but we're gonna go out on Samson and DJ Tiger Consumption. This is the gist of what you've been talking about for a whole hour. You have to protect your mind and watch what it is you are consuming, because those things could be a psychological detriment. And I think that's something we sleep on. We want to thank you for joining us.
I just wanted to say I apologize. Make sure that when you're listening to your music, that you're paying attention to the lyrics and to the frequency, the sound, the hertz, and that it's being emitted from your music. Make sure it's not tuned to 440 because it's not good for you. So always make sure you're paying attention to the lyrics of what the purpose and intent of the song is, and the frequency is tuned to.
And Samson and DJ Tiger, Essential Paragraphs 2 definitely has that good intent, as all of their music does. But we're going to go out on this. I want to thank you again for joining us, and we're going to enjoy the song. I want to tell everybody to be sure to pull us down again next week. We're going to definitely have some more interesting content, more guests, and more music. I'm trying to work more music into the program because you just mentioned the impact of music is exceptionally profound. So we're going to go out on Samson and DJ Tiger Consumption featuring Evan Tashin Reynolds. I want to thank you again for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
History, an abundance of fruits, vegetables, and herbs allowed communities to focus on ascending to new levels of awareness, elevating to new heights. Watch what you eat, watch what you listen to, watch what you say, watch what you give in your body and your mind. Not a place to jump in, so do yourself a favor. Watch your consumption, watch what you eat, watch what you listen to, watch what you say, watch what you give in your body and your mind. Not a place to jump in, so do yourself a favor. Watch your consumption.
Now, what we got is a gut full of a lot of nonsense. Immersed in our molecules, multiplying the toxins. Arteries clogged and black on the walls of our heart. That heart is enough to stop it. Our tongue, we wobbling more than a flying carpet. Our heads hurt, our ears bleed, the knots in our stomach. I shudder to think of the pain of having our brains cluttered. If you could see the incorporated combination, you wouldn't want it. That approval always key, and I'ma keep it 100. Tragically, false information flooding our system is the culprit. Making most of us kick the bucket too early. In conjunction with the moves made by following a phony formally trusted. But his point makes no point, your intelligence is insulted. Which results in a lot of heat coming off you like lava molten. Inside an active volcano ready to erupt and engulf them. Glad you saw through the line, made an adjustment. Watch your consumption.
Watch what you eat, watch what you listen to, watch what you say, watch what you give in your body and your mind. Not a place to jump in, so do yourself a favor. Watch your consumption, watch what you eat, watch what you listen to, watch what you say, watch what you give in your body and your mind. Not
Hey, yo, Sam, let me slow it down just a little bit. We have been systematically manipulated to and dictated to believe we were all created equal. So now we spiritually, psychologically, biologically, and socially consume what species who were not created in our likeness are relegated to.
What do you mean? Huh?
If cold climate people eat cold climate foods, then what do sun people do? Which one are you? I'm sorry. Allow me to reintroduce myself. The product of a post-traumatic slave diet and protest riot. They don't invest into our community, so why do we buy it? We eat to live or eat to eat.
Watch what you listen to. Watch what you take. Watch what you keep in your body and your mind. Not a place to be. So do yourself a favor. Watch your consumption. Watch what you eat. Watch what you listen to. Watch what you take. Watch what you keep in your body and your mind. Not a place to be. So do yourself a favor. Hey sugar, I just found out I'm diabetic. We gotta break up. Get us? Cause you hooked carbs on a plate up? I really thought you wanted what was best for me. Apparently not. You just feel good when I pull up. Want a hamburger? Pull up. Cheeseburger? Pull up. French fries? Pull up. Soda pop? Pull up. If we all just did a couple pull-ups, these fast food joints wouldn't even be in business. Mental and physical fitness, metaphysical fitness, knowing space, time, cause identity limits, vitamins, minerals, 24-hour intervals, or holistic methods. Doctors only answer questions about Medicare, Medicaid, metformin, or any other medicine. You would need to call them to refill up the dose. Master symptoms, no go to hell, make you an addict for real. Dealers need to get paid, I suppose. Watch what you eat, watch what you listen to, watch what you take, watch what you keep in your body and your mind. Not a place to be, so do yourself a favor. Watch your consumption, watch what you eat, watch what you listen to, watch what you take, watch what you keep in your body and your mind. Not a place to be, so do yourself a favor. Watch your consumption.
You can eat well, but it's only one aspect of reality. You have to think well, you also have to live well. And we tend to isolate these. Psychology over here, food over here, lifestyle over here. That trinity of lifestyle, food, and thought, or spirituality, is three aspects of the same reality. If you take care of one and neglect the others, you'll end up just as sick.
Yo, what's your problem when I be going to pick up my kids? You always got